All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. This is a pit stop show that we are doing at the NRA Annual Meetings in 2026 in Houston, Texas. And we want to thank the NRA for having the Voices of the Second Amendment media row, because there are people that are doing audio and video and all sorts of really cool stuff down here. And I am fortunate to have with me Tonya Taylor, who is an FAL with the Friends of the NRA. And I had to look this up, and I'm like, I don't know what this is or what the title is or what the acronym is for. So, Tonya, thank you so much for being on. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about what you do.
Okay. So a couple years ago, I decided to quit teaching school.
Oh, my God. What did you teach?
Special ed.
Oh.
Yeah.
God bless you.
I love guns. I was a board member for shooting range, Friends at the NRA.
Where are you from?
Well, I'm from Texas, but at the time I lived in Wyoming.
Oh,
when
okay.
I got started in all of this.
Yeah.
Living out in the Wild West, you get really great with guns. So I did cowboy shootout, things like that. Got really involved, but I felt like I could do more.
Yeah.
And so decided to quit teaching. I was actually first a campaign field rep for the NRA ILA, which is a legislative action. So they endorse candidates during elections, and then they have campaign field reps that go out and get volunteers. We canvass. We do everything that we can do to support that candidate. And so, of course, that's just a contract time during election. And then after that, you go home and you do other things. And so they said, hey, would you like to be a FAL? So FAL is a Frontlines Activist Leader. And so basically, we help the campaign field rep. We also get volunteers. We go to gun shows. We go to gun clubs. I go to sometimes just gun shops. I'll send out emails, for a radius of 30 to 50 miles, sometimes 100 miles. And you'll be surprised people show up for that gun shop, and that gives them extra business. And it helps them out. And then we get to talk to them about what candidates we're endorsing, the bills that are being passed for gun rights, things like that, all the legislative going on. So basically, we're the liaison for NRA, between NRA and the community, and we, keep them up to date on everything that's going on with the world with guns, Yeah. And so, like I said, I've just always wanted to do something like this. I love to talk to people. I like to think outside the box. Actually, one of my volunteer get-togethers was at a VFW with a bunch of bikers, Hell's Angels, some other gangs like that, and they actually went out and canvassed with me.
No.
Yes, knocking on doors. Of course, a lot of people didn't answer the door for something like that, but you know what?
Right.
It was great to see these guys, because that's the thing is, there's so many voices out there that want to support gun laws and gun rights, our 2A rights. And, like I said, there's just so many different people out there, different types of people. And we give them that avenue that they can come and help do that. There's nothing feels better than, for example, working out in North Carolina, President Trump did not win it the first election, but he won it this time. And we focused on those counties that he didn't win the vote last time, and we won that.
Wow.
And so election night was great. We felt like we accomplished something. And, like I said, I love to get volunteers involved to help me do that. We'll set up a table. We'll give away hats, T-shirts, stickers, but while we have them there, we talk about what's going on with the legislative things and stuff. And so it's just another avenue to do that, separate from competition shooting, things like that. So the NRA just has so many departments, that people don't realize that are out there.
Yeah. And
so we also have days that we go to the Capitol, and if there's a gun law, on the floor, we're there to support it. We have get-togethers like that. Like I said, we've formed relationships with so many people and made those connections. I'm sure like you do when you talk, but
I'm trying to.
Yeah. Right.
That's really great. That's a lot of, and it's all volunteer time.
Yes, it is. The campaign field rep, though, I was actually paid for, but it's a lot of volunteer stuff. But like I said, we've got to get out there and do it. I mean, even the state of Texas, we just added another district. The cities are becoming very anti-guns. And me working at it, I actually teach again. They're very anti-guns.
It's I've been in schools for since the 1900s. I
Okay.
like to tell my students, and it's I used to teach in public schools, and I wasn't a gun guy back then, so it really wasn't an issue for me. But then after I became a gun guy, I started teaching in private schools, and I still like one of the things I find interesting, I guess is a good word to say it, is when people push their agenda in school, and the job's not to be that. You know what I mean? And I've had my worlds collide, being a gun guy and having a job as a teacher. One of the funniest ones is I've been an instrumental music teacher for 100 years. At least it feels like 100 years.
Oh, okay.
But I was teaching a gun class at a shooting school, and 4 hours through, I say to the gun class, I said, "Does anyone have any questions?" And there was this teenager in the back. He raised his hand. He says, "I used to take trumpet lessons with you. How come you weren't this fun teaching trumpet?" Right?
That's funny.
And I'm like, did you practice? Because that might make it the determining factor on whether
I would
or
have
not
never
lessons
guessed
go
that
well.
you were a music teacher.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, awesome.
So it's not when I'm at school, like it's not my job to push my pro-gun agenda, because that's not what I'm there for. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then as soon as I'm out of school, I'm all about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's always interesting. Yeah, and I remember the day. So September 11th happened, and I ended up having to watch everything unfold on TV because they were using my classroom for pictures, right? Because the band teacher's at the bottom of the totem pole, and if we need a room for something, we'll cancel music lessons, and then they'll do stuff in the classroom. So I ended up watching. They used my room for picture day, and I ended up watching everything unfold on TV. And then
wow.
that's when I was like, hey man, we live in a dangerous world. I have no clue. Like I spent all this time,
Right.
playing in a band and drinking beers and watching girls dance. So that's when I started to get serious about it, or started to learn more about it. And I remember sitting in the teacher's room talking with a bunch of the teachers and said, hey, if somebody comes into school and it's not supposed to be here, the principal said he's going to get on the intercom and he's going to say the eagle has landed. And that means that everyone should lock the doors and hide under the desks. And this was, again, 2001, 2002. I'm like, that seems a little crazy. If all the teachers on the first floor had guns, they could shoot the bad guys, and then the teachers on the second floor can keep on teaching. And everyone's like, that's crazy. And I'm like, I don't think so. So that's what kicked it off for me to go get a gun license, and because it's a wildly like being in schools is very anti-gun stuff.
Exactly. And it's awful that we have to be that way, but you just have to be prepared. Doing all this volunteering, doing the campaigning, also got where I became a firearm instructor. So I do that.
Nice.
I do a lot of women's girls going to college, getting them prepared, situational awareness. Yeah. And then I just started a group where it's real estate agents.
Oh, fantastic.
In Texas, they're out in the country showing a house and things like that. I actually had a lady that took my class and hoped that she would never ever have to use it, but something happened that she did.
Wow.
She's not very good with a gun. She was dropping it. I'm like, oh, this is not going to be good. She called me 2 weeks later and told me that she was showing a house. She was, about 15 miles out in the country. Had a couple come and show up. They went upstairs, looked around, came down, locked the door. And she said, literally, I could hear you, Tonya, in my head, saying the steps when we took the class with you. And she said, I don't, she said, I already had my hand on my holster behind my jacket, and I was backing into the living room kitchen area. And she said, I told him, I don't know if you're going to kill me, rape me, rob me, but I'm going to shoot. Keep clicking, because my instructor told me to.
Whoa.
And she screamed it. She had the tiniest little voice, and she said, I was yelling like it was a bear. And they ended up leaving, and they got to the highway. She'd already gotten 911, and the sheriff's department was able to get them.
Oh,
so
God.
like I said, I like to try to cover all the avenues, 2A. That's the thing, is I just want to get it out there, and different ways that we can support it, show it, and just be there for it. So with the NRA, they've been always so great to me. I just want to do my part and help them out in any way, and then try to get some volunteers, and get them on this right path to doing this. So I don't know if it's like a ministry or what, I just, like I said, one day just decided, this is something that I need to do. And so I've just sort of embraced it now. I'm actually fixing to get my concealed carry instructor license.
Nice.
I know people don't, think that constitutional carry. You don't have to have one anymore. But there's so many things that having that, you can cross state lines. Go to other states. You still need it. So
the one that I think is good is when you go to a gun store, and there's some states that do this. You're in Texas or New Mexico?
I'm in Texas. Yes.
I don't know if Texas is one of these states, but if you have a carry permit, you forego the background check.
Yes, they do. That's the first question they ask you.
Really?
It is.
You do the 4473.
Yes.
And then they ask you if you have a carry permit. You say yes, and you're all set.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind. So I spent 10 years playing in a Motown disco funk band.
Okay.
And one of the guys in the band was a little short Jamaican dude. Played the tenor saxophone. And we got into an argument about background checks one time. And of course, it's always, how it is. You talk to people that are non-gun folks, and you're like, you don't understand, you don't get it, blah 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 blah. So we were talking about. I said if I've got a friend that's got a gun license, I should be able to transfer it to him or let him borrow it, and not have to go through background checks. She's like, oh, we should have universal background check. Blah. So I said, so you moved here? I said. We called him Maman. I said, Maman, you moved here from another country, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah. I said, do you ever have a background check? He's like, no. I said, what would I need a background check for? I said, maybe for your job? And he's like, no, I've been with the same job for 20 years. Why would I need a background check? And I said, well, I don't know, but you might need one. You kind of have to prove you're not a criminal, right? And I said, I have one for my gun license, for my Massachusetts license, for my Utah license, for, all the other licenses I have. I have one for all the schools that I teach at. Like, come on, man. I need a fast lane for one of these things. And he's like, you should still do a background check. And I'm like, I have a little card that says I pass background checks. And he's like, well, what if you committed a crime? Then they would take that card away from me, and I wouldn't have that little card, and then I wouldn't pass background checks.
Right. In Texas, when you get pulled over by a state trooper, I've always heard this for years, that if you hand your license and hand that concealed carry, that makes a big difference. And I've not been pulled over to experience it, but I hear that it works.
I'm not a speed demon. I say I'm not a speed demon. I just don't get caught, right?
Right.
I have the last couple times I've been pulled over, and in Massachusetts we don't have the duty to inform, so I don't tell them. Right? I got a gun on me. I got knives in my pockets. They don't ask. I don't tell. Don't ask. Don't tell. But if they do ask, then we do have to inform. And I've heard people say the same thing. Give me your gun license. Give me your driver's license. Give me your gun license. And I'm like, dude, you end up with an anti-gun cop on the side of the road. Yeah. And now he thinks that's some sort of a threat that you give me your gun license. So I'm not a guy that does it.
I don't know. I mean, the only time that I've had to give it, that I did get pulled over, I've been pulled over twice ever, but I did give it. It was in Colorado. And I was thinking, there's no way I'm going to get out of this, because I had 60 guns in the car with me. I was moving from Wyoming to Texas.
Oh my gosh.
And, there's laws about the ammo. You can't have the ammo and the guns, together much.
Separate containers.
And stuff. But I had a pistol that was in the console sitting there, that it was on the other side. I didn't see it.
Oh, man.
And so when he came over to the passenger, he's like, is that one loaded? I didn't know, because I had it in there for a while. And so I gave him my concealed carry. And he's like, I'm just going to tell you, Colorado, it needs to be unloaded. And, make sure. And I don't even care about those 60 guns in the back. Oh, and so, but I was thinking, I'm going to jail. It's Colorado.
Right.
With all
this is how it ends.
This is how it ends, But that card, I don't know if that made a difference. I don't know. But, like I said, I just, I try to get that across, that people still need it. And you just never know, right?
Yeah.
But it does. The background check does. That's the first. If you go to any gun shop in Texas, that's the first question they will ask you, and they said you would be shocked how many people say no, I don't have it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I know you're not teaching it for like a business, right?
No. Okay. I do it, just as advocating and
gotcha.
With the ladies, that's a big thing.
Well, you might have noticed when it went from having a permit to permitless carry in Texas, did things change? Were there less? Did less people come and seek out getting permits? because it was now permitless carry.
Yeah, it has. I mean, occasionally I'll have a group of guys will say, "Hey, we all need this. Can you do a class for us?" And
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and help them out. But yeah, it has. I mean, people just don't think they need it anymore. But when you tell them, the things about, show it whenever you get pulled over, when you buy a gun,
When you buy a gun,
if
yeah.
you go into another state, because it's not constitutional carry nationwide yet.
I do know all too well.
Yeah, and so there's certain places you can go also with that.
Yeah.
In Texas that don't allow that. But I thought you would see more people having a holster with a gun when it became that. But no, now it's just you don't see it anymore.
Wow.
But yeah, the classes you don't get as much. That's why I struggled with it when I was going to take the class and become an instructor. I'm like, how many people would I have? But I was really surprised. I still have groups, that ask me to come and do it.
That's cool.
And stuff like that. So mostly ladies. Out in West Texas, a lot of oil field workers. They'll leave a gun with their wife, and they don't know how to use it. And
Yeah.
They feel comfortable doing that, and they want to do the whole thing. Oh, let's get the works. I want to do concealed carry. I want you to teach us situational awareness.
Nice.
All of that. So
All that. That's cool.
yeah. So like I said, I just advocate for that. The NRA, all of that kind of stuff, and it's just become a passion in my life now to do that. And so I just try to get more people aware that, hey, you can volunteer, you can do the same thing.
Yeah.
And, because they're always like, how do I volunteer? I mean, they think they have to be asked. And it's like, no, you can do anything I can do.
It's I had somebody, we have the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms is doing an event at the end of May this year out in Massachusetts. And I asked one of my buddies, I said, "You're going to go to this?" He's like, I don't know. Can I? I'm like, yeah. How come you haven't gone to these before? He's like, I've never been asked. And I'm like, wow, I don't know. That kind of changed.
Right.
You're like, no, nobody asked me to do it either. I just,
Oh, yeah.
I was bored. I wanted something to do. I got involved,
Right.
So.
And that's our job, is to get that out there,
Yeah.
and then tell people, hey, you can volunteer. And then, if you tell it just, like chain of command, you tell one person, they tell another. I mean, we really need as many people as we can.
Yeah.
Because, things are changing every day.
Yeah.
Just like we were talking about the school stuff, it's who's going to do it if we don't do it?
Yeah. For sure.
And the younger generation, I sort of worry a little bit there with some of the kids, the different kids that we have, that we're going to lose that.
Yeah.
It's not trying to tell our age or anything, just saying, hey,
it's I mean, my kids are 25 and 23. I started giving them the gun safety rules when they were young, and the gun safety rules when they were young is don't point a gun at somebody. And we had Nerf gun safety. Nerf gun safety is my son would have his friends over, and they could shoot the crap out of each other, but don't shoot your sister if she's not in the Nerf gun fight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then I had to say to my daughter, I said, "Sweetheart, you can be in the Nerf gun fight with the boys, but you can't quit because you run out of bullets. You got to pick them up and hide behind the couch and load them all up and everything." So we did that. That was what the Nerf gun safety was until we got, we went to the range, and then we'd go through all the safety rules, and we go through them every single time we go to the range, and even at 23 and 25. And when my son was 23, about a year and a half ago, he went shooting with some friends. He went visited some friends down in, of all places, New Jersey. And he's like, I think I want to get a gun. He's already had his gun license. He says, I think I need to buy a gun. I said, all right, let's go, man. I can't wait. But my daughter hasn't hit her yet. That might be something she wants to do. So.
Yeah. Like I said, so she's how old, you said?
She's 23 now.
23. So she's in college?
Out of college.
Oh, out of college.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you taught her about situational awareness and all that when she went.
So she drove down. She went to college in Nashville.
Oh my gosh.
And I drove her down the first year, and I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to a Waffle House. And then we went to the Nashville Armory and bought some pepper spray. And then for her senior year, I let her take my car, and she drove down to Nashville with my old car. And we went to a gun store. I'm like, all right, here's a pepper spray for your purse. Here's a pepper spray for your car. Here's a pepper spray for your dorm.
Yeah.
This is keep them here, right? Pay attention to your stuff. And it's good when she says she does, but I'm like, does she really? You know what I mean?
Right.
She's 23. She's a girl. She's all tied up in other stuff.
Well, my daughter was in Chicago after college, and I was terrified of her up there. And she's not a big gun person like me and my son, so she had the pepper sprays and stuff. And riding the subway and things like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, all we can do is teach them.
Yep.
Hopefully that'll instill into them, and they'll teach their kids, and
Hopefully
so
pass it
on, or
on,
even
yeah.
their friends.
Yeah.
And so, but like I said, just we got to get more volunteers out there, and that's the goal for the NRA, for the ILA. We, like I said, we endorse candidates.
Mhm.
If you want to get that person in there to change some of these things,
It takes some time.
Yeah.
Takes some time. Takes time and money, and it's either you get time or you get money.
Right.
You got to do one of
And
them.
we've got to encourage people to get out and vote.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the biggest thing. We can't change anything if you don't vote, right? So
Totally.
that's something that we really push when we go out. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, listen, we need to wrap things up here.
Okay.
How can people find the friends, the NRA ILA's these are so many letters.
I know.
I get the whole alphabet here, for God's sakes. How can they find out how to become an FAL in their area?
So if you go on NRA, it's a -ILA and .org. If you go in there, it has a little drop down box or even a search line, and put FAL. It'll take you actually, and it'll show you states. You pick your state.
Mhm.
And it has ones that you can contact. So like anybody in Texas can contact me. There's also another one in Texas. We only have 2 for the big state of Texas.
Wow.
Craig Wise.
Yeah.
He actually lives in Houston here, and I live up north. It's called Breckenridge. And you contact one of us or whoever's in their state, any state that they're in.
Yeah.
It'll have someone listed, a representative. And then we can connect with them and get them signed up.
Very cool.
And any of the events, we can get them signed up with newsletters,
Yep.
emails, any event that we have, but we have one in every state, and it'll have the list on there. But if they just go to the website and put in the search, FAL, Frontlines Activist Leaders.
Okay.
I know it's hard to remember that. If you just go to ILA and then type volunteers, it'll take it.
It'll take you there.
It'll take
Gotcha.
you there, yeah.
All right.
To make it so is that way you don't have to remember all those letters.
Right.
Right.
I know. I'm telling you, I reached out to a friend of mine that's on the board. I'm like, what's an FAL? She's like, I don't know.
Well, I brought you a pamphlet today that explains it.
Oh, excellent.
And like I said, the ILA has they're basically the grassroots of NRA.
Yeah.
And they've been doing this since 1975.
Gotcha.
And so
Well, thank you.
I brought it to you. It's got all the little logins and the
very
QR
cool.
codes and things like that. So
All right, we'll have to find a way that we can put this in the video too.
yeah.
Awesome. You got QR codes on the back. Well, listen, Tonya, thank you so much.
Yeah. It was great meeting you. I've always wanted to meet with you.
Well, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
honored by that.
Yes.
This is great. I'm glad you reached out.
Yes.
This is good. All right. Well, listen, we need to wrap things up here. If we want to thank the NRA for having the voices of the Second Amendment and doing the media rows that we have here, which these are fantastic and great. And if you've made it this far, you should share the show with your friends, because that is how we get the stagecoach across America. We'll talk to you guys again. Thanks a lot.